Angel investment is often the first source of cash for a promising startup. The source locally has often been the Capital Angel Network. We're going to dig into the organization's 2018 investments on this week's Techopia Live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Techopia Live. I'm your host, Craig Lord. We are back in the accelerator space at Invest Ottawa. We are facing in a different direction, but I promise you, we are still surrounded by the city's best and most promising startups. This week, we are digging into the investments of the Capital Angel Network. For those not familiar, it's a group of local angels who are often supporting Ottawa's own startups. So we're going to dig into all of their investments from the past year. They were up. There's a spoiler alert, and we're going to dig into exactly what they were the most excited about. Before I do that, though, I'm going to introduce our sponsor, our guest, Susan Richards, a familiar face here on Techopia Live, joining us from Number Crunch, the virtual CFO services for SaaS firms. Thank you very much for joining us,
Thank
Susan.
you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yep, as always. Next to her is Jennifer Francis. She is the chair of the Capital Angel Network. And to her right is Nolan Beanlands, the executive director of the Capital Angel Network. So we'll get to you in just a moment. Before we start, though, just a recap of what you guys have done in the past year. And a reminder to you, there is an article detailing and breaking down all of these investments on obj.ca right now. So head over there if you want to look at the numbers and the companies listed there as we're talking about them. But at a high level, there were $4.1 million in investments in the past year for Capital Angel Network. That was across 28 companies, and that's up from 2017, which was already a record year of activity for Capital Angels. They had done 3.3 million across 20 companies, and this year 4.1 million. And across those 28 companies, those companies have raised a cumulative $50 million. So Capital Angels is getting involved and following on with companies that are raising a lot of money outside of the Angel Network. So I'll start maybe with Jennifer. What were some of your highlights from the 2018 year for Capital Angel Network?
So I think a few things. So one, just the level of activity. We saw a lot of great companies, which I think is why the investment level was up this year, and the number of angels that invested in local companies also up this year. A couple of great companies. It was really fun when we were working on the Advanced Symbolics deal with Erin Kelly. She was at the same time on the news monitoring the Ontario election using their AI technology to predict results in the individual ridings. So that was pretty fun. And just the breadth and depth. I mean, we're sitting here actually surrounded by several investments that we made this year here in Invest Ottawa, like Spiderwort, Transparent Kitchen, The Grocer, which is a really cool company that was focused on Dragon's Den last week, Snap Clarity in the mental wellness space. So it's just been fun. It's been great to get so much investment into the local companies.
Yeah, I wish we had planned it that way, but no, we just plopped down, and Jennifer and Nolan were looking around saying, yep, that's one of ours, one of ours, one of ours, one of ours. So a great amount of synergy between Invest Ottawa and Capital Angels, but also, like you said, the diversity of companies that you're investing in. Nolan, how about you? What were your highlights for the year?
I think to echo a few of Jennifer's comments, both the activity in terms of number of deals, in terms of the amount of dollars, and also in terms of the number of angels that are really getting engaged, both from a financing side and also an advisory side. Our angels are definitely smart money. There's certainly a lot of activity, but our angels definitely get involved in their investments, and that's what we see a lot of the times is the success of our group is that we're very good at spreading ourselves out and making early bets on some early companies. And then when those companies do have a bit more traction, they'll come back to us and ask for a bit more money. And with the buy-in and the support of their angel advisors, really, then they're able to raise much more money. So of the deals that we did, about half of them were follow-on rounds and half of them were initial rounds, although more of the capital actually went to the follow-on funding just from those that larger amount of support that you're seeing for companies like Crypto4A, Rewind, and Desk Nibbles as well, that we're really getting behind, that we've been able to track for some time and see their progress and really bank on that continued growth.
Mm-hmm. And cool companies in the AI space as well, MindBridge AI, Raven Telemetry, both raising big rounds in 2018. We'll pass the mic to Susan for a quick question, because one of the interesting statistics in the 2018 numbers is that a full 25% were pure SaaS firms. That's not even counting some of the AI and IoT firms that have some recurring revenue to them. But that was the largest single segment for Capital Angels 2018 investments. Susan, can you tell us, why are SaaS firms such an attractive investment?
Absolutely, and really the reasons go beyond SaaS to represent those other companies that have that subscription-based business model, in that when you start to get some traction, the amount of value that you can acquire. So the goal is for a company to acquire lifetime value that's greater than the cost of acquiring that customer. So it's in the SaaS space we call it LTV to CAC, and that secret formula is essentially guaranteeing to investors that you're going to be generating that return. When you can prove that you can turn $1 into 3 or $1 into 5 or $1 into 7, and you have a payback period of 12 months or 6 months in your business model, then that's extremely interesting to investors. Companies that are launching in those spaces are also targeting very large markets, so there's an ability to, at an angel level, to see that their investment can go the long distance through the Series A, Series B rounds as well.
A more clear trajectory when you're dealing with something hopefully predictable.
Absolutely, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you are the investors.
Sounds about right, and going more maybe at a high level, maybe we'll pass it to Jennifer for this question. Why is Capital Angels overall deal volume increasing, and the number of dollars going into these companies? Is it something, we mentioned that 27 of the 28 companies are Ottawa based, so yeah. Is it something going on in Ottawa? Is it a more proactive approach from Capital Angel itself? What is behind this increased volume for you guys?
So I think it's probably a combination of both. I think Nolan has been doing a really good job of getting out into the entrepreneur community, getting more awareness that there is money in Ottawa. So we hear less often now that there's no money in Ottawa, that you have to go somewhere else to raise money. We're seeing companies successfully raising money here. We're seeing big rounds, not necessarily angel rounds, but we are seeing some big rounds with companies like Ascent Compliance, which are showing that you can actually scale a company. Shopify, of course, being a huge example of scaling a company in Ottawa as your headquarters. And I think that's driving a lot more companies to stay in Ottawa and to look to raise money in Ottawa. And I think if you look around, Ottawa just seems to be booming, I think would be a reasonable word. The last couple of years have seen a real transformation. We went through a few doldrums for several years, but I think we're out of that, and I think there's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement about the tech community in Ottawa, and a lot of companies getting to that stage where they're ready to raise. Yeah, and we've now got the money in the room to fund them. So.
Yeah, exactly. And often when we have guests on the show talking about how well Ottawa is doing, there is always that little bit of hesitation that you don't want to overstep and say, be the one who jinxes it and says we're killing it. But a common sentiment that we're hearing, that maybe Ottawa is in a bit of a boom right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, this year we've raised, there's been quite a few large raises in the past year in Ottawa. Yeah. MindBridge being a good example of that, and Raven Telemetry, both with multi-million-dollar rounds this year. And then, some of the larger companies getting big money in. UITV got good funding this year. Ascent Compliance, I think, was last year. But lots of activity in the city, and I think people are seeing that and recognizing you can bring in the big money into Ottawa, and you can stay here and you can grow a business here. And, in spite of the snowstorm, it's a lovely city. So.
Yes, we are a little bit snowed in today, but we're coping. We're inside. We're warm. We're happy. Pass it maybe to Nolan for a quick wrap-up question. Nolan, if I'm a startup watching this right now, what is the process like to get involved, to get in front of Capital Angels, to pitch and hopefully receive a little bit of funding themselves?
So generally, I always encourage every company to get engaged with the ecosystem, right? Again, we're sitting here at Invest Ottawa and we're pointing out all the companies that we've invested in. And one of the reasons is that we're ourselves engaged with Invest Ottawa, with LSpark and 111, a lot of the ecosystem partners. So feel free to reach out. There are great resources that will help guide your company to a stage where it's more appropriate to be raising angel money. That being said, you can find me on LinkedIn, send me an email. I think I answer everyone who's based in Ottawa very quickly to have a quick chat, and just so we have an idea of where you are and when would be the appropriate time. Because that's where I think there may have been a disconnect in the past, is people think that they're ready to raise money and they're not, and they're coming to us and we maybe turn them down, or the angels are somewhat disappointed. So there's a bit of a disconnect between when the right time is to raise money. And so I think that's one of the shifts that we've made, is really making sure that when the companies do approach us, it's the right time, there's enough momentum behind the company and support from the ecosystem that allows those rounds to go through and funding to continue and really take those companies to that next level.
It's really about establishing that pipeline and knowing, okay, when you're at this stage, Capital Angels is people for you. When you're ready for that follow-on investment, maybe, hey, Capital Angels will still be there, as you pointed out, through investments like in MindBridge and Raven Telemetry, those follow-on companies that are getting those big rounds. But knowing when's the right time to go to Capital Angels versus maybe one of these community partners. Definitely a good lesson to take away from any startup looking to get to that next level or just to get started. So I want to thank all three of you very much for joining us today for Techopia Live, Nolan and Jennifer from Capital Angels Network, and of course Susan Richards from one of our wonderful Techopia sponsors, Number Crunch. I will take a quick second just to thank the rest of our sponsors before we take off for the day. There's TD Bank offering specialized services for tech firms. There's Pearlie Robertson, Hill and McDougall, a leader in business and tech law. There's the University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. There's Stratford Managers, offering specialized services to help you scale up your tech venture. And KRP Properties, offering you so much more than just space. Techopia is not just this fantastic show. We are also on obj.ca/Techopia, where I mentioned earlier you can find the breakdown of Capital Angels 2018 investments. We are on Facebook and Twitter at Techopia OTT. We are on YouTube at the Ottawa Business Journal. If you're watching us there, please hit the like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications of our videos. They're up every week with regular interviews with Ottawa tech players, executives, and startups. Apart from that, I just want to thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Techopia Live. We'll be back next week for the next episode. We hope to see you then. Bye-bye.